Oh, after hearing the secret book's atmosphere, Fang Yi was excited, put his hands on his face in front of the table, and smiled. Is the person coming? Not wrong. The secret book points to the head, and the beautiful face is full of condensation. According to common sense, a big territory envoy comes to another star area, and it should be considered as a local territory envoy. This is a question of respect. But he hasn't come yet, right? Before the secret book opened, Fang Yi answered the phone and said, yes. The secret book was low, and his face was a little difficult to read. The other party came to see Fang Yi, and even called him a little. This kind of movement, no doubt, is a naked challenge. It seems that he didn't take Fang Yi seriously at all. Oh, then don't care about him. Fang Yi smiled. Not at all, and continued to correct the mobile. The secret book was stunned. She still thought that Fang Yizhang would be furious, and even went straight to the door. Didn't expect. Zhu Tenghua was indifferent. Even looking at Fang Yi's expression, it seems that he is not there at all. This makes the secret book very strange. Lord Fang is still very light. Isn't he a little bit lazy? In fact, if the secret book knew that Fang Yi had experienced it, then we would know why Fang Yi was so indifferent to the reaction. As early as on the Earth star, Fang Yi carried a bright, move forward alone. Will he suffer less lightly at that time? From the beginning, Fang Yi would not have been stumbled because of these little guys. On the Earth, he used his own actions to clearly show how he would leave the scene. The Earth God Ming and the Heaven God Ming are all naked examples. The two major experts can be said to be deceased because of Fang Yi. Not to mention that Fang Yi was intriguing before becoming the #1 person in Earthstar. Now, for him, these are really just small subjects. In fact, in order to protect Fang Yi, the God of Light was hidden, and many of the news was strictly hidden. Even as Fang Yi's secret book, he could not fully know, but only some fragmented information. As time went by, the secret book was curious about Fang Yi's past, wondering what this Emperor Star had experienced so that it would be so easy and not affected by external objects. Sir, at this time, the other guard stood beside him and couldn't help it. That guy is so straightforward that he doesn't really want to send someone out to find them. At worst, I'll go and find them, and directly. What? Can you still kill that great territory envoy? Fang Yi smiled. If the territory is placed on the Earth Star, it is the provincial chief. It is very impressive to be able to manage a region and have the right to configure armed forces. Only 10 Gale men can match their territory. The raiders prefer a single body, which is somewhat similar to the Grand General Army. Although they can also be equipped with military forces, they are not as straightforward as the territory envoy and can directly manage the star domain. Therefore, the territory can be regarded as the peak of the power of the God of Light. When I heard this, I was anxious to grab my ears and cheeks. He couldn't really beat the other side. If you don't want to talk about whether to fight or not, just take advantage of the other party's identity, and he dare not offend him. So wait with peace of mind. Fang Yi snatched his hand, not caring, and said with a smile, wait for a while. They will not be able to wait for their own heads to emerge. Just wait. She kept her head in a hurry, not very clear about the expression. Yes, just wait. The secret book's eyes lit up. She guessed Fang Yi's idea. It turns out that the reason why the other party does not appear is that he wants to give a stern away. Facing this situation, the horse's feet will be exposed only after urgently. Instead of accepting the challenge, the other party will be anxious. Without vision, pretending not to see the other party, the killing force is greater than anything else. Fang Yi's view of these is very clear. Okay, finally the corrections are finished. Fang Yi stood up, stretched out his waist, and closed the piece on the table. I'm going to give you the rest, so I'll go and relax. These days, since taking office, Fang Yi has been making corrections. Now I can finally go there. Language. Everyone around him was slightly swaying towards Fang Yi. This matter will be handled by you very soon. If that territory has been sent, contact me again. Fang Yi patted the secret book's shoulder. Yes, Lord Fang. G Blue's home. Not long after, Fang Yi arrived at his residence. As soon as the door was opened, I saw the brother and sister sitting on the sand. As soon as he saw Fang, Ian wanted to jump up and shout, but the next moment he seemed to think of something, and then he sat down a little nervously. Ji Blue even showed that she was very clumsy and was very cautious in fighting. What's wrong? Fang Yi looked at them and probably guessed it in his heart. Brother Fang, Brother Fang. He took the lead in breaking the silence. He said it with a shaking voice. Why, don't you recognize me? Fang Yishuang walked straight to the sofa and sat down, deliberately joking. Or what kind of flood is I? Don't welcome me. What? Ji Yin responded quickly, and then lowered his head, saying, I'm just too tight. Seeing this, Fang Yi didn't know where. This little girl knows her identity. In fact, Fang Yi did not directly tell his identity at first, which was precisely because he prevented this situation from appearing in front of him. Many times, if the other party knows that you have a high status, he really dares not be friends with you. However, Fang Yi himself did not intend to be confused. Although he refused to reject the reporter's broadcast, he did not refuse the public to attend his attendance ceremony. The brother and sister saw him on the day of his 10-year ceremony. Brother Fang, it's because of you. Ji Blue stopped talking. I didn't think of it, and that day the Aiko clan leader came to the door to apologize. This isn't that good. Ji Blue Tun was at a loss in his speech. After he learned about Fang Yi's identity, he was actually just like Fang Yi thought, and it was no longer so natural to contact Fang Yi. When the two identities are different, this kind of separation will inevitably occur. When they didn't know Fang Yi's identity, Fang Yi smiled and was friendly in front of them, but since they knew Fang Yi's identity as the great territory envoy, and when they looked at Fang Yi smile, even if the arc was exactly the same, they would feel that this was a pressured smile for the superiors. These things were changed unconsciously. Don't worry, your strength and your talent are enough to enter the Xianyue Stargate. Fang Yi smiled and patted Ji Blue on the shoulder, which made Ji Blue suck again. Really? Ji Lan raised her head. Of course. Fang Yi pointed at the head and said no. In fact, Fang Yirong did not have any investigation into the Yak family. After he took office as Xianyue Xingmen, he investigated Ji Lan and the Yak family matters once. The contradiction between Ji Blue and Mex is just a typical and old-fashioned story. A genius was beaten. To put it simply, Sylvia and Max both wanted to enter the Xianyue Stargate and ran into the same assessment. As the top-level martial arts school in the Light God Winnie, the competition for the number of Xianyue Stargate was already fierce. At that time, only one of them could be selected. In that competition, Max surpassed Snow and won the title. It was also a competition that led to the revenge between Max and Ji Blue. After that, every time the Xianyue Stargate enters the test, Max will appear at any time, and some small means will suppress the sensation, so that the sensation will not be able to pass the assessment and enter the Xianyue Stargate. The routine is classic, but it is actually not delicious. In the field, there are superiors, and in the spiritual world, there are also nobles from the spirit second-generation people. In fact, as long as there are people living in the place, there will be level conflicts, and the pressure will come with it. Social resources are limited. The upper level has occupied a large number of resources, so naturally they don't want to give the limited resources to the people below. These principles are also suitable in the Light God text. That's why the max talent would be buried. You are talented, and you are very talented. Fang Yi smiled and encouraged Max. On the last time you were fighting Max on the ring, wouldn't it be possible to show up? What? Can you think your talent is not as powerful as Max? How could it be? Jilan Lima couldn't sit still. From beginning to end, he thought he had won the Mex on the road of pioneers. It's just that there is a strong family behind Max so that he can be suppressed. That's all. Fang Yi patted his shoulder. Mix can enter the Xianyue Stargate. Why can't you? After all, Xianyue Stargate is just a place to learn martial arts. Just a school palace. Don't deify it too much. I'm so white. Ji Blue lowered her eyes, thinking. The next time, when he raised his head, he showed a sure expression. I want to thank Brother Fang this. Looking at Fang Yi in front of him, the tightness and separation in MC's heart were disappearing a little. He originally thought that Fang Yi, the envoy of the Great Realm, would have changed compared to before. But in fact, everything is the same as before. The change in identity did not make Fang Yi bully or say he was arrogant. He was still like in his first year of junior high school, without any changes. Okay, I won't say much about it. After entering the school palace, you can study and practice the bracelets well. This is my greatest thanks to me. I'm going to work again. Fang Yi stopped the communication, put down the potato chips in his hand, and stuffed them into the squash. Yes, Ji Yin was stunned, and he didn't expect Fang Yi to leave so soon. At the same time, Ji Blue stood up. Does Brother Fang have something urgent? Yes. Fang Yi smiled. Maybe you can watch it on the TV in 2 days. Wow. Ji Yan's eyes lit up, and he thought that Fang Yi was now the envoy of the Great Realm. He thought that Fang Yi was going to do very high-end. Then Brother Fang, go quickly. Don't miss this serious matter. Fang Yi smiled and slapped the brother and sister in the room. Ji Blue stood up and looked at Fang Yi, her eyes full of gratitude. For a long time, although he didn't say anything, he actually knew it in his heart. Now they are really turning things around. They were once in this star field, and they were the lowest level residents of the God of Light. Although their quality of life was barely enough, they were not as proud as slums. If they really encountered the right, they would only have a dead end. The Max and the Aiko family were living examples. It is precisely Fang Yi's existence that has completely changed this situation. On the surface, Fang Yi just helped them run away with Max, allowing Ji Blue to enter the Xinhua Stargate, and allowing Ji Wang to have a teacher. In fact, Fang Yi's behavior is to help them lift their waists and stand up. Especially today, Fang Yi still came to eat at night after taking office as the Great Region Envoy, which was telling everyone without saying goodbye. Ji family, Fang Yi has feelings for him. Just this is enough to make Ji Blue and Ji Green live in the Light God. All of these are clear in Ji Blue's heart. Just because of this, he looked at Fang Yi and didn't say anything for a long time. I will never express my gratitude, so don't miss this. Let's go. Fang Yi smiled, rushed to the brother and sister, and then turned over. Behind him, Jilan looked at his back and bowed deeply. Fang Yi's territory, Envoy Hall. Have you checked the seat? Fang Yi walked into the hall and asked at the secret book beside him. The clear coordinates have been determined, and the battle is ready and can be released anytime. The secret book holds a small board in his hand, which contains many data, all of which are analysis of the mysterious ancient corpse in the starry sky. Depart. Fang Yi pointed at the head and responded to the extreme. As he walked forward, he gently touched the buckle on the cuff. In an instant, a layer of nanomaterials spread out from the buckle and climbed up along the cuffs until it turned into a whole battle suit attached to Fang Yi's body. This is a technology that can support the pioneers to move freely in the universe, and can allow the pioneers to resist the extremely cold, weightlessness, oxygen deficiency, and other particularly bad environments in the universe. Click. As Fang Yi walked in the corridor ahead, the door opened automatically, revealing the extremely sci-fi warship launcher behind. It is better to say that it is a small port set up in the main hall. At this moment, the light golden warship is anchored in the port, and the flowing warship is engraved with the special code of the Light God, 303. This is the starfield number 303 led by Fang Yi. Fang Yi walked into the warship with a familiar journey. At the same time, the secret book also changed into the cosmic war clothes. Although it was already 10 o'clock in the evening, the subordinates maintained a high-strength working spirit. Sir Fang, listen to your order. The guard is standing on both sides, waiting calmly, and following Fang Yimao. Look at the fire. Fang Yi issued an order. The next moment, a light blue flame was sprayed from the tail of the warship. Rush dash. With the bloody engine roaring, the warship rushed out of the port and rushed towards the universe. The cold and silent universe. In today's universe, many lives have been nurtured and many wisdoms have been born. From a macro perspective, the current universe is still dead, and the fundamentals of the vast scope are lifeless. In this cold and darkness, The Near-Earth Universe Road is located in the 303-star field of the God of Light. A corpse actually floats in the universe. In an environment where gravity is lost, the body maintains a floating state, and hairs are open in the universe, and the muscles hide special energy waves, which seem to be able to collapse mountains and break through just a drop of blood. Rush. At this time, in the sound of the silence, a warship with a light golden color and a 303-digit carved car from the Ming dynasty of the Light God, and arrived near the corpse. In the guide room, Fang Yi stood with his hands, looking ahead. It's really a 10-strong skull. Fang Yi narrowed his eyes. Even without any exploration tools, it was enough to see that this skull contained powerful energy fluctuations. This energy fluctuation is almost going to turn into a real atmosphere. What kind of realm is this? The secret book following Fang Yi's body was completely shocked. Even though she had already tested it with a device before, it was even more shocking as if she had just watched it directly. The air radiated from the body was, of course, they all felt the pressure inside the battle. Sir Fang, we have to contact directly. Wait. At this moment, Fang Yi stopped talking about the secret book and suddenly turned his head to look. Buzz. The sound of the warship engine is also in the direction of the 303-star field. A warship sails by with a light golden surface and belongs to the Light God. However, on its surface, the number engraved is 203. As she looked at this number, Fang Yi's pupils slightly contracted. The number of 203 on the warship represents that this warship comes from the 203-star field. In addition, the great territory of Fang Yi himself makes the warship of very similar appearance. His identity is already coming out. The great territory envoy of the 203-star domain. It was the mysterious man who wanted to give Fang Yi a Maowei. I didn't expect that I would meet here. Fang Yi's eyes were flashing. Originally, his idea was to ignore it and make the other party lose his predecessor. Unexpectedly, the two people would meet in this way. Because of this mysterious body, you will hit the head in the universe. At this time, inside the 203 star domain warfare, the 203 territory warfare raised its head at this moment and noticed Fang Yi's warfare. The glass walls in the guide room and the cold universe. The two people's videos gathered in the air. Collision. Who would never have expected that the meeting between the two would be in this way? However, this sudden encounter not only did not make the relationship between the two people stable, but instead made the double-sided intercourse attacks. Why did it come to the universe? All for the ancient starry sky. Both of them came for a plane, so how could they retreat to each other when they were in a hurry? The battle has already reached the established reality. Are you the head of the 303-star domain? The first person to open his mouth was not Fang Yi, nor was he the 203 territory envoy, but the butler standing by the 203 territory envoy. The butler took a step forward and said the words that he spoke relapsed in the universe through the communication device of the warship. My adult came here to play and accidentally discovered the ancient corpse. We were ordered to return the ancient corpse to the 203-star field for research. In the 203-star field, there's the best science and technology research institute that can analyze this corpse well and analyze the secrets of the ancient corpse. After the sound of the words on the number 303 war, it was not Fang Yi who opened the mouth, but the secret book. Although she is a woman, her words are very sharp and cold at this time, and she is full of murderous spirit. It's the 303-star field here. The ancient zodiac was discovered in the 303-star field. It should be handled by my elders. However, just as this sentence fell, the butler wanted to say something, but was interrupted by the 203 territory. Okay, why do you need to tell them so much? 203, the territory envoy, looked at Fang Yi. His language was full of coldness, and there was a kind of naked invisibility. A boy with no hair can be seen. Where's the qualifications we have come from? He turned to look at the butler beside him. You have to remember that polite words are left to the right people. This kid seems to be a territory envoy, But can he actually compare with us and discuss it? I think everyone is very clear. Language. At the 303 war, Fang Yi had no feelings, and the subordinates beside him all glared at him. Don't die. Do you want to provoke a war between the two star fields? The guard who followed Fang Yi's right was furious. It was the guard who wanted to find trouble when he was out of Marvel. Oh, so what? What are you going to fight us? The 203 territory was completely absent, and there was no even a little cover. Language. The expression of this name changed suddenly, and the rest of the words stuck in the throat for a long time and couldn't be said. Master Fang. The secret book's expression was condensed, and there was a worry hidden in his eyes. No one would have thought that Fang Yi would really choose to fight against the 203 territory. Everyone knows very clearly that the 303-star field controlled by Fang Yi is still developing in all aspects. If a full battle is to be launched, what is the opponent of the 203-star field? Not to mention Fang Yi, everyone on the battleship chose to retreat. But now, Fang Yishuan took action. Still, with such a strong attitude, he retreated from the subordinates of the 203 territory envoy, and also blocked the 203 territory envoy and the mysterious ancient corpse in the universe. Obviously, Fang Yi's attitude is very vague. The mysterious ancient gang must be left with 303 star fields. Your sucks very much. The 203 territory narrowed his eyes. His language was quite cold, and the moment the words fell, his right hand suddenly raised. At this moment, a dazzling light burst out from the palm of his right hand and swung lightly ahead. At the time, a large number of golden light gathered and finally turned into an invincible divine gun, suddenly rushing towards Fang Yi. Rush dash! The bursting bird exploded, making the eardrum hurt. It's hard to imagine that this is actually a beam of light that shuttles through. I didn't know that it was the comet falling. Wherever I passed, the space was shaking and burst out with a large amount of terrifying energy flowing. With just this blow, the number 303 warplane changed drastically. The fifth realm, rising sun peak. People were amazed. No one expected that this 203 territory envoy had such a terrible power. In the knowledge of the people, the 203 territory is really strong, and its strength is actually the fifth realm, but no one knows it. He has reached the peak of this realm. Compared to Fang Yi, it is a big realm. How should Fang Yi resist in front of such a strong enemy? No, we need to take action to help Lord Fang. The man with a hot temper and a protective expression, named Carter, suddenly changed, and he couldn't help but take action. Wait, the secret book Nariel seized Carter. If we make a move, it means that the 203 star domain and the 303 star domain will start a conflict, which will lead to a war between two territory. And Nari's eyes flashed and looked at the battle opposite. In the battleship, a powerful figure was about to be developed and ready to move. Do you think if we take action, will these guys not move? They are the incomprehensible brought by the 203 territory. And will they be weaker than us? I'm afraid they will only be stronger. If you fight in full, you will let Lord Fang eat. But, Carter gritted his teeth, you also saw that the guy who was chasing the enemy is the fifth level peak. Obviously, he was worried about Fang Yi eating. You know, Lord Fang is someone he believes in, and he must be alone, Nayli said firmly. Actually, she didn't say anything else. That is, no matter what, even if a conflict occurs, it is only limited friction, and it will not really rise to death. This is the binding force of the light God once sure, and it is impossible to allow two territories to fight to the death in the inner battle. Therefore, even if Fang Yihuan lost, the biggest price, that is, this mysterious body, will not have the worries of life. Rush dash! At the same time, Fang Yi punched this pillar of light that was like a piercing through a magic gun. With this punch, Fang Yi's body was filled with blood, and his spirit was crazy and violent, and his strong and extremely strong yang attributes gathered a little. Then it suddenly exploded. At this moment, two extreme attributes exploded in the universe. Yang attribute, photo attribute. Different from the previous beam of light guns. This time, the big hand was pressed down in the air, and the golden fingers fell like the pillars that pressed thousands of you on. The power it contained was completely incomparable to those who could not compare. In this blow, he will not die. The adults will hold back. The man will also lie on the bed for several months. The mysterious ancient corpse has become our bag. The mysterious ancient corpse has a lot of energy in it. It is most likely from a powerful corpse. If we can get it, the 203-star field will definitely become stronger. On the 203 war, the subordinates brought by a 203 territory envoy were all flowing around each other. They were very confident and believed that after this fall, Fang Yi would not have any possibility of resisting. In fact, that's exactly the case. This is the most powerful move among the light gods' practice and is called the Great Light Finger. Only those at the power peak can learn it. It is not a secret method. Of course, he was the elder of the heavenly god clan in the number 3 realm. When facing the Great Light Index, he collapsed instantly, and his body exploded to pieces without any trace of being destroyed. Fang Yi, there's only the 4th realm. The victory was decided at this moment. At the 203 war, everyone was slightly shaking, their eyes full of anxiety, as if they had seen Fang Yi being recreated by flying, and could only give the mysterious ancient corpse to each other. Rush dash. Under the attention of the crowd, Fang Yi's sword light suddenly collided with the big light finger. The next moment, the strong light burst out, making everyone subconsciously want to close their eyes. However, after the dazzling light, what no one expected was that this knife was not broken by the great light. In the contrary, I wore and tore the fingers condensed by the extremely luminous properties. The dazzling sword light swept across the universe, as if it was about to cut the dark and vast universe into 2.5. The power was so terrifying. In the bursting light chips in the sky, Fang Yi's body burst into behind. A large number of yang attributes were covered in his body, thereby enhancing his speed, making him look like a fire-red meteor that broke through the dark black fog, dazzling and unmoving. No one expected that Fang Yi could do this, and his speed was actually too fast. In just a moment, Fang Yi rushed to the mysterious ancient corpse, then moved a lot of spiritual power and strode forward with his hands, grabbed the ancient corpse from the air, and broke in the direction of the 303 war. At this time, everyone in the 303 war Hun was stunned. No one expected that Fang Yi's unintentional enemy once again defeated the 203 territory envoy's killing move, and even took away the mysterious ancient corpse by hand. Is this really something that could be achieved in the 4th realm? Too many people were shocked and couldn't believe the picture they saw in front of them. However, in the crowd, some people reacted first, and it was Carter. Catch it quickly. As the words fell, he was the first to get out to take over the ancient corpse that Fang Yi had passed. At the same time, Nelly had already controlled the warship to open the door and began to attract the ancient corpses. It was also at the same time. The people on the 203 warplane couldn't sit still and wanted to snatch out the mysterious ancient corpse. I think who dares? However, at this moment, a loud shout erupted, and it exploded in the universe like thunder. Fang Yi was in front of the warship and the ancient corpse, and each person slashed everyone's way. At this moment, he was so powerful that the Sun Colonel Town star technique was moving with all his might, and the breath emitted from him actually made people retreat. Cough, cough. Fang Yi shook his body slightly, and blood spilled out of the corners of his mouth. Mr. Fang. Carter looked at Fang Yi anxiously. In fact, from the beginning, he was amazed at why Fang Yi fought against the 203 territory envoy and even sent the mysterious ancient corpse. You should know that the former is the powerful and absolute 5th realm peak, and it is a great realm from Fang Yi. The latter is a terrible energy wave hidden in the body. Carter had just touched it for a moment before and was backfired, almost bleeding, and why Fang Yi sent the ancient corpse directly. Now it seems Fang Yi is not wrong, but he forced himself down. What a terrible willpower this is. Hurry, let the doctor come. Nayli shouted urgently. In the war, in addition to basic drivers and nursing, special doctors are also arranged. After all, this is a war of territory. Although it is not a large-scale war, the army still has complete personnel configuration and facilities. No. Fang Yi tried to snatch his hand and signaled that he would not fight. It's just a reflux of blood brought by the spirit waves. Not a big deal. After speaking, he moved the sun Kurashima again, strengthened the retracting of the spirit, and suppressed the restless breath in his body. It is also through the movement of the method, a large amount of extremely aggressive yang properties spread out, attached to Fang Yi's body surface, emitting heat that is beyond your desire, and evaporating the blood that spreads from Fang Yi's mouth. Really, isn't it true? This scene made everyone's hearts look at. What a powerful method this is. You should know that although the spirit cultivated by the pioneers is not as limited to the middle of the martial arts novel, the energy of the spirit surges back is absolutely nothing. Once the situation occurs, it will cause a bleeding mouth and nose, and seriously, it will go directly into a devil and go crazy. But after Fang Yi moved to the sun and the nuclear town star, he rudely suppressed all the resurging spirits. This can only explain that the Dharma practiced by Fang Yi is extremely domineering. Very high position. Has Lord Fang turned around in practicing the strongest light of our God of light civilization? Carter couldn't help but think in his heart. The domineering method of the verdict can effectively suppress the reflux of the spirit. And the first thing that emerges in Carter's brain is the reversal of light. As the most powerful method of the God of light civilization, the reverse light can be used to suppress the spirit of rebirth. As a territorial envoy, Fang Yi also has the qualifications to learn the reversal of Guangming. But the problem is that the breath that Fang Yi showed was not the light attribute in his body, but the yang attribute. In this way, what Lord Fang just used is probably not a light reversal, but a method that he is practicing. In his thoughts, Carter was shocked. This is terrible. As Fang Yi's subordinates, they actually knew in their hearts that Fang Yi came from a backward planet and was the strongest person on the planet named Earth Star. How can a planet that has fallen behind and begins to revive energy have such a powerful method? This made Carter feel incredible. Really good. Nari's expression was also very wonderful. Her sensitive observation of Fang Yi's breath that was originally somewhat depressed was recovering again, and at a very fast speed. This is really a good move. For a while, she couldn't tell whether Fang Yi was not seriously injured or was it true that Fang Yi's method was really awesome. Yeah. Fang Yi just pointed at this and stopped paying attention to his injuries, but looked at the mysterious ancient corpse. This corpse. Fang Yi narrowed his eyes and said, "Send it to the inspection immediately. I need to know some detailed information about it." Even though he didn't know where this corpse came from, Fang Yi could confirm that the corpse must be extraordinary. The powerful and pure energy hidden in the corpse, of course, is the strongest and powerful person of the fifth realm, cannot possess such a standard energy. Fang Yi was just fighting with the 203 territory envoy, and he could determine that the energy purity in the 203 territory envoy was far inferior to this mysterious ancient corpse. It is hard to believe that this is actually a body that has been dead for many years, and the energy in its body will definitely flow in the relationship between time. In this way, before this corpse was alive, it must have had more powerful power, and even surpassed the fifth realm far away. What's more, when Fang Yi touched this body, his heart suddenly felt a little frustrated. There's a very strange feeling in Mingming. It seems this zodiac body does not belong to this universe, but from a higher-level creature. Of course, this feeling is just a trance-like error, not necessarily true. That's why Fang Yi was killed and checked the body again. Yes, Carter pointed at the head and sent the corpse to the laboratory in the warship. As a warship for the territory, there are naturally also laboratories and analysis rooms, which are equipped with various facilities and equipment. Rush Dash. And just a moment when Carter was about to touch the mysterious ancient corpse. A terrible breath burst out from the mysterious ancient corpse, and a powerful wave of energy swept away from all directions. In the past, Carter was flying out of the air, smashed heavily on the wall, and suddenly sprayed a mouthful of blood. What's the situation? Everyone is like a big enemy at the time, and all of them are moving. And at this moment, the mysterious ancient gang rose up in the sky and floated in the air. The dried skin, like tree skin, suddenly emitted a dazzling light, and the hairs danced in a row, illuminating the entire battleship boat. Is this guy resurrected? Nayli saw this and felt creepy, and his goosebumps were all raised. And in the creepy, she felt infinite chill and horror. If the mysterious ancient zodiac really comes, who could be its opponent? Even Fang Yi would be backfired by contacting the mysterious ancient gang. What if it were the mysterious ancient gang that directly began to kill all sides? I'm afraid no one can resist it. No, it's not resurrection. At this time, only Fang Yi remained basically calm. His ordinary voice sounded as if giving everyone a great sense of security. The language, everyone took a closer look. That's true. Although the mysterious ancient corpse is emitting energy fluctuations, there's no trace of resurrecting the enemy. Rather than saying it is resurrecting, it is better to say that the mysterious ancient corpse is releasing its last piece of energy. The extreme energy lying in Fang Yi's 5 fingers showed a bright golden yellow, like golden sand. It is also with the flow of energy, the word emperor in Fang Yi's palm, and a word on it reflects, as if it is gradually melting into Fang Yi's flesh and blood. With this surge of energy, Fang Yi's right palm, which had turned into white bones, was gradually recovering the life, and even the flesh and blood were regenerating. The regenerated muscle fibers wind up the bones continuously, causing the flesh and blood to completely recover, and then the skin. It's just a blink of an eye. Fang Yi's original recreated right-hand palm recovered as before. To outsiders, all of this seems so incredible, as if the scene where Fang Yi's flesh and blood collapsed in order to hold the luminous ball is illusion, and it has happened since then. But the heavy and bloody smell of air is reminding everyone that all this is real. What exactly is it? Someone was surprised. This was too incredible. A luminous ball was diamond from the chest of the mysterious ancient corpse. Not only did it fall to the ground with pressure, but it even had the energy to heal. Could it be that this is what can make the dead live? The healing of flesh and bones is a treasure of nature and earth. In fact, only Fang Yi was the one who did. This is definitely not a big treasure of any kind of treatment system, but an essay on the word emperor, which is a top-notch practice gate. It was only that Fang Yi received the inheritance of the word emperor and knew the true mystery of the cultivation of the horns. The energy in it responded to himself, which allowed Fang Yi's injury to be repaired. The originally manic spirit that was surging throughout the war was surging. After Fang Yi's right hand recovered, he gradually breathed down, and in the end, only the silk-shaped wind was left. When Fang Yi's 5 fingers closed and the light group in his palm disappeared, the last silk-colored tiny wind disappeared. Everything is invisible. Only Fang Yi stood in the middle without any wreckage, and the mysterious ancient corpse also lost the support of energy at this time and gradually fell down. At this moment, under Fang Yi and the mysterious ancient gang, each person and the gang are the original point, and the ground and walls around are all in a mess, leaving behind a trace of undercutting scratches and destruction, as if they had just experienced the storm that had happened before. Fang Yi stood there, shirtless upper body, revealing her delicate upper body. Black hair flew in the air, and her eyes were bright like stars. At this moment, Fang Yi had a special and inexplicable aura. This is a very ancient atmosphere, as if Fang Yi was not the life of this world, but had passed through the door of time and space and went from far away to modern times and completed his rebirth. It was obviously a light little one, but he turned his body into a breath of an ancient house. This is not the dusk atmosphere, but a historical slump and a sense of passing months, which makes people feel calm when they are accidentally. This also made everyone present stunned and completely attracted by this special atmosphere. No one said anything or even forgot to breathe. It was at this moment that Fang Yi's voice sounded again. This corpse does not need to be checked anymore. When it comes to the planet, it will be sent to the laboratory. In the language, everyone is as if they were dreaming of waking up. Yes, yes, Lord Fang. Carter heard a sound, and then quickly walked up to the mysterious ancient corpse and wanted to take the mysterious ancient corpse away. However, he still felt thirsty, and when he approached the mysterious ancient zodiac, he showed some timidity. Don't worry, there will be no more power to leak out. Fang Yi said lightly, as if he could see through what Carter was thinking at first glance. Yeah, Carter responded and immediately left with a mysterious ancient corpse. In fact, as Fang Yi said, when Carter touched the mysterious ancient corpse again, there was no relapse of spiritual power, and he did not suffer any backlash. Only then can you feel at ease to take away something. In fact, Fang Yi had long expected this, and it was precisely because of this that his subordinates would not continue to study the mysterious ancient zodiacs, but instead sent them to the planet to study. It's because he knew he couldn't find any conclusions. After Fang Yi finally accepted the article Emperor and found out that the mysterious ancient corpse will always contain spiritual power and even die many times. In fact, it is to protect the article Emperor, and when he encounters the person who is mysterious ancient corpse, he will be backfired by the power, which is actually a similar protection mechanism. It is precisely to protect Eddie's essay. From a certain perspective, this mysterious ancient corpse is actually looking for the inheritor of the essay of Emperor. It's absolutely impossible. The 203 territory made the language decisive, and the attitude was extremely bad, and it did not give any face to communicate with the other person. If other uninformed people were here, they would have been shocked to see this scene. You know, the one who connects the information is the god of light civilization. Why do anyone dare to give face at all when there is any message about the god of light civilization? However, the more uglier words are still at the back. 203, the territory envoy sneered and said to the other end of the phone, "If you want to say harmony, it was him calling me by himself, not you who were circling in the middle. A man who has not been long and has become a territory envoy. But he is on par with me." The territory envoy was not polite at all and did not take the communication content seriously at all, just as he was going to give Fang Yi a chance to get Ma away. From the beginning to the end, he never brought Fang Yi back, even if he just fought with Fang Yi Dao. In fact, Fang Yi was in a bad mood, even if the 203 territory cuts a small mouth into the finger. After all, the hole in the finger, for the strong men of this level, the pressure is not considered a one-time return. It's just like being bitten by a mosquito. But Fang Yi was actually accused of defeat and fell into a bad mood. 203, the territory, makes the inner thoughts firmly. As the fourth realm, Fang Yi was unable to eat his great light and was safe and sound. At that time, he clearly felt that Fang Yi was in a state of breathing and had uneven breathing, which was obviously injured. If it weren't for the restriction of the light god civilization, he and Fang Yi were killed directly. The 203 territory envoy believed that the result would be that Fang Yi would die. In the end, the fourth realm became the territory envoy, and he was not convinced. The territory envoy has become the peak of the power of the god of light civilization. How can it be so destined? How can we tolerate a young man on an equal footing with him? What's more, if his cultivation is far inferior to his, it looks like a related client. You can relieve your energy. On the other side of the communication, the contactor sent an absent words. Obviously, it is impossible for the light god civilization to directly enforce the 203 border envoys, which are the same border envoys. In other words, when you reach the territory, looking at the entire light god civilization, no one can surpass the territory in power, let alone do it, forcing the territory to do something that you don't want to do. Therefore, this communication of the light god civilization also plays a role in voluntary and unblocking, rather than a direct requirement for 203 territory to do it. After all, this is what the elder brother hopes. The contact member said again, although you cannot directly ask the 203 territory to do it, you can also change the appearance of the famous old man. Language. 203 the territory made a sneer. Why? Do you want to use your elders to suppress me? You should know that I also have strong power behind me. If I really do something, these veterans will not be able to avoid it. The 203 territory sounds are not loud, but every word is like a slight slap, falling into the hearts of everyone. At this moment, the whole battleground was silent. The other end of the communication was also a long silence at this moment. These words are quite rebellious, and they can even be said to be a traitor. Who dares to say this to the elder? This can even be said to be a threat. At this time, the contact staff on the other end of the communication network were flowing with cold sweat drops. It seems that he heard something he shouldn't hear. Can this statement really be reported to the elder as actually? If you don't report it, isn't it because you don't report it? And are you guilty of being aware of it? And at this moment, the 203 territory voice sounded again. Remember one thing, I am the 5th realm peak, and Fang Yi is the 4th realm's head. If you really want to make this thing harmonious, then let him communicate with me, not by you here. After all, who is the front and who is the late? It's already easy to see, right? At the other end of the communication device, the contactor was silent for a long time before he could express his words. I already know your thoughts and will clearly turn over. The contact's face was pale and his lips were slightly shaking. He could have thought that if this news was uploaded, it would definitely cause anger. Even the irritable elder, the old man, would burst into trouble. However, the contact staff is also very clear in their hearts. 203 the territory is not a joke. He is really qualified to challenge the elders. You should know that except for Fang Yi being an outsider, his territory was all natives of the landlord of the god of light civilization. Behind them, there must be family support involving a series of power struggles, which is difficult to clearly state in one word. The power behind the 203 territory is a powerful force that will not be left to the elders at all. Even thinking in a darker direction, this time, the 203 territory is so to go to the 303 star field and give Fang Yi a lower ma way. The real purpose in essence. It is very likely that the power behind the 203 territory is to use it to hit the elders. Thinking of this, the contact staff was busy and dispersed this series of emotions. Don't think too much. These love affairs are not something that he can contact. Many times, the more you know, the greater the danger. It's like the battle between top-level big shots. It's better not to involve these kalamis. The contact staff member, Saint Han, took a deep breath, was filled with pain and fear, and was tidying up his mind. Prepare to transfer the content of this communication conversation to Mr. Ku. It can be expected that the collision between the 203 territory and Fang will inevitably cause the entire light god civilization to be shocked, and this is a certain locking reaction. At the same time, Fang Yi, who had returned to the 303 star field, had no idea about this. He has returned to the library system and is preparing to combine the information and the final translation of the text of the word D to make a breakthrough. This time he was ambitious. Want to break through the 5th realm. Alone. Fang Yi sat on his legs in the book collection system, and his body was swept with its spirit. As a result, the entire book collection system shook. A large amount of information flowed towards Fang Yi like flying catkins, and then gathered beside him, forming a strange sight similar to a small dragon roll. And in the dragon roll of this information flow, a golden light lit up, and then became more and more intense, dazzling like a group of small suns reborn in the storm. It is the essay of the word emperor. With the sacrifice of the word emperor, the floor of the Tibetan book system shook violently, and even showed a tear. Fang Yi sat with his legs, his eyes slightly slim, and a warm stream of light was lingering in his eyes, as if words flowed deep in his eyes, constantly intersecting and flashing, which was the transformation of the word emperor. After being obtained by Fang Yi, the article of emperor's name has been integrated into his flesh and blood soul. It does not require too much enlightenment and is already familiar with the heart. This is a very high-level enlightenment. Buzz. A lot of information flows and is irritating. Fang Yi did not accept it again. This time, he directly wanted to absorb all the information flow in the Tibetan book system. We must take this opportunity to break your bottle and enter the true fifth realm of rising sun. In the hazy and powerful tearing flow of information, Fang Yi sat down on his legs, and his whole person was like an ancient god, scattering the might of a palpitations. Rush dash. Another great sound of spiritual level. Fang Yi's body was full of muscles and bones, and his spirit surged wildly, rising from his dantian, slamming the sky's spirit. It was also at this moment that the essay on the word emperor was activated, like a little golden spirit surrounded by a bird, surrounding Fang Yi and shouting. In the memorials of the emperor's essay, there is a powerful and terrible method of corporealism. They often practice spiritual energy first. Although they can temper themselves, very few people can truly achieve the invincibility of the body. In the article D word, there is a method that can create your own body crocodile to the extreme, and you can use this method to condense the crocodile to create the crocodile. This moment, Fang Yi directly wanted to edit all the content left in the library system that had not been read, and combine the essays of the word emperor to condense the emperor's chronicle. At this moment, in the Tibetan book system, two light riders, Tai Yi and Guang Yi, were holding their breath and concentrating. They stared at Fang Yi with all their hearts, and a thrilling wave of shock in their hearts. Nothing like any previous breakthrough. They could clearly feel that Fang Yi's breakthrough this time was different from any previous one. The golden flashing light indicates that Fang Yi has obtained a huge opportunity when he goes to the universe this time. The book hiding system is about to be connected by him. Tai Yi's expression was touching. He had noticed that Fang Yi was greedily swallowing all the information light flow at a speed comparable to that of a whale. What kind of speed is this? It's hard to imagine that this is a human brain that can handle so much information at the same time. A drop of cold sweat came from a large angle. Even if he was a Knight of Light, he never expected that this time Fang Yi will definitely be able to break through the fifth realm. Guang Yi's expression was firm. In fact, the last time when Fang Yi was about to take office, he was about to break through the fifth realm and enter the rising sun stage. However, the last time was still a bit bad. But now it is different. The Light First ability perceives Fang Yi's current aura. Fang Yi's breakthrough in the fifth realm is already a fact of the onboard guys. I heard that Fang Yi had a grudge against the 303 territory envoy. I definitely expected this. Naley was very cold, and his eyes flashed. Obviously, she wanted more than Carter. The other party responded so quickly, and in a very short time, it also made a series of measures, including the explosion of the entire media platform, instigating and provoking public dissent, and other means. It was definitely not a hot topic, but it must have been predicted. You should die. He is farting purely. Carter's expression was difficult to see, and he kept getting angry, and at the same time he felt a little frustrated. If Fang Yi hadn't stopped him at this time, and would have allowed them to incite the public so much. In fact, they also tried to prevent the 203 territory from striking, but in the end they all failed. To put it simply, when they are engaged in a power struggle, they are still too flirting, and they are not the opponents of the 203 territory. Can you allow such a relationship to be entrusted with an important task to manage your star domain? No. No, 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 and those who were originally hidden in the crowd, provoking conflicts, quietly disappeared from the crowd and disappeared without any trace. At this time, the 203 territory envoy ship appeared above the 303 star domain. Let me tell you what is the real territory envoy. As the 203 territory sounded, the sound burst out from above the war, and the powerful and absolute breath came out from the sky and pressed down toward the bottom. At this moment, no one shivered and felt an urge to feel no slight pressure, as if they were about to force them to kneel down on the spot. This. People raised their heads and saw a powerful and terrifying figure appearing above the sky, above the battle, and it was the subordinate of the 203 territory envoy. There is no doubt that his subordinates are all strong. Even the weakest ones are in the third realm. At this time, these strong people were dissipating their own breath, and their powerful power gathered in the sky, and the clouds around them were scattered open, and their breath was like a wave, one after another, sweeping over the sky. Even more terrifying is that their power waves gather together, and each one is like a war god. If the people below look up, they can hardly see their true appearance. They can only see their bodies scattered with powerful light groups, as if they are in the mythology. There will be a god in the heavens. This also made the people below realize the 203 territory, where the 203 territory was powerful, and the war was over, and the people below were trembling. Fang Yi is just a fame. This is the real power of the territory. The voice of the territory of 203 was heard again. As his voice fell, all his subordinates once again released their mighty power. He didn't need to take action by himself, but only his subordinates were enough to shock everyone. The 303 star field, under the rule of Fang Yi, are there any subordinates who are like a model? Is there anyone who can use it to build a tree? No. After hearing this, Carter was almost in a state of chaos. What bullshit is he giving? How long has the talent for Fang De was used to the territory? He didn't even have a gift before and after. Where did he train his subordinates? And this bastard is definitely saying, we're not as good as him, right? Carter wanted to say it, but now he can only recite it all in his own home. He has no way to go to the stage, and he can't solve any problem. No matter what, continue to stress and discuss, and you can't sit and see how it fermented. Nari said, gritting his teeth. Although she said this, she actually knew it very well. Fang Yi, he was a foreigner. If you're not a native of the light god, your body foundation will be weak. One of the reasons why they approach Fang Yi is because they are the elder faction of the elders, and they're standing next to Fang Yi. Of course, the most important reason is still, they really agree with Fang Yi. Whether they collided with the 203 territory envoys in the universe or took the mysterious ancient corpse, they all made them recognize Fang Yi, the territory envoy, from the bottom of their hearts. But they're the only ones. Others, the soft root has not come to contact Fang Yi. Where can I agree or not? The same is true for the 203 territory envoy, saying that Fang Yi had no tree building after taking office. It only took a week to build it. Where did the tree building come from? Some discerning people can understand this truth, but there are only a few people with discerning eyes. Most people are from the public. This is the real reason why the discussion is difficult to be pressed. The 203 territory makes the movement too fast, and it grasps the weaknesses of human nature, so it can naturally easily challenge the relationship. At this moment, Carter's expression suddenly changed. He saw the change in the broadcast screen and only saw that on the 203 territory, the screen suddenly trembled violently. A strong breath explodes here. Then that's that. At this moment, many people felt the breath appear and turned around and looked away. I can only see that in the direction of the hiding system, a large number of clouds suddenly piled up in the sky, and countless golden light was emitting it. It seemed that the sky opened its eyes at this moment, overlooking the people. A strong and ulcer is awakening. Rush dash. The next moment, the cloud layer collapsed, and the golden light shone down on the earth, and the air waves swept the heaven and earth. In the hidden book system, a figure emerged step by step, breaking through the world, and his breath was so strong that it made people feel numb. Fang Yi. At this moment, someone from the 203 territory envoy identified Fang Yi's identity. But at the same time, they discovered an even more shocking phenomenon. Fang Yi breathing came out of his body. It's the fifth realm. Rumble. Above the Tibetan script, a large amount of black clouds are stored, which is the power generated by the breakthrough, gathered in the sky. The horror is so great. At this moment, the thrilling breath spread in the sky, and wave after wave, pressing towards the earth in all directions. Numerous people trembled as a result, as if the terrifying disaster was coming soon. Everyone was amazed and couldn't understand what was going on. They even thought that some natural disaster was breaking out here, and some people in the gang team did not even dare to continue the game. They ran away quickly and wanted to avoid difficulties. Only those who are powerful, at least at the third level, can clearly sense. This is not what is called heavenly disaster, but someone is breaking through the realm. I wonder how powerful existence can make a breakthrough to create such a terrible static. That direction is among the subordinates of the 203 territory envoy. Someone looked at the sky where the energy gusts gathered. They saw that it was a Tibetan script. Before they came, they had already known it. After Fang Yi took office, he often stayed in the Tibetan corpus and learned the knowledge in it. This was one of the permissions of the territorial envoys. Now a strong and utterly breath burst out from the Tibetan corpus. Is it difficult? Is it Fang Yi? Everyone's mind is filled with this idea, and it's just incredible. The momentum of this breakthrough was actually too strong, and it suppressed the subordinates of the 203 territory envoys. This is the breath of the breakthrough of the first realm. Someone couldn't help but exclaimed. This sound instantly spread out and was heard by the crowd around him. All the people who were traveling to the gang were stunned. Wait, how could Fang Yi be so powerful? Isn't he a just-in-commission client? Do the relationship customers have such powerful power? Wait, it's not necessarily Fang. The subordinate of the 203 territory envoy immediately said. His eyes flashed, and he stopped slightly before continuing. As far as I know, in the Tibetan script, there have been 2 straighters guarding the town, and it may be that they have broken through. As soon as this was released, the straighter attracted a lot of recognition from the surrounding people. Yes, the stock price is too strong, even far beyond the average realm. If it were Fang Yi, how could it be so powerful? That's right, it must be that Tai Yi and Guang broke through. The subordinates under the 203 territory envoy said. Language. The gathered crowd was about to point it, but suddenly they saw something and their eyes widened. Look, what is that? As a result, a figure emerged from the sky above the Tibetan script. A black-clothed slutched key, black hair and black eyes. Not Fang Yi, who is it? Didn't you say that Fang Yi was the one who broke through? Someone said out loudly. In language, the 203 territory caused the subordinates to change their expressions. Fang Yi, had he really made a breakthrough? Sir, some subordinates couldn't help but contacted the 203 territory envoy on the spot. Did you see it? The expressions of this subordinate were a little confusing. They never expected that Fang Yi would make a breakthrough in this treacherous eye and even compete with them. If Fang Yi is still in the 4th realm, some of the incitement they have made will be considered successful. But now Fang Yi has broken through the state of the 1st state, so the previous methods will not be able to work. Are they saying that they are weak? The people are playing. Light means Fang Yi's breathing and breathing, so it cannot be described as weak. More importantly, someone has seen it. This is a scene that arises after the 5th realm breaks through. How could a person who can break through to the 5th level be a related account? You should know that even if you are placed in the God of Light, you are still the best in the 5th realm. Most people spend all their thoughts, and it is difficult to truly enter this state. Impossible. He is definitely a shot, and he uses some special method. Yes, that's definitely the case. Some people under the command of the 203 territory commander couldn't help but make a sound in doubt. This is really too miserable. Who could think of Fang Yi's progress so fast? I'm afraid that if you look at the entire God of Light, you will not be able to find a second person who can achieve such improvement speed as Fang Yi. That's right. It's definitely because the Elder gave him a certain kind of treasure of nature, which allowed him to break through to this level. Another person was Finn, and his right leg turned into a ray of 203 territory envoy said, "It seems like this kind of seedlings helps the Elder enter a new realm, and the foundation is not solid." It's right, the foundation is not stable, and this fifth realm is useless. The man who opened his mouth before turned into a ray of 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 these two people are both powerful under the command of the 203 territory envoy, both of which are the fourth realm peak and are the strongest team of the 203 territory envoy. Today I also came to my mind. I want to kill Fang Yi and others. As long as Fang Yi's strength is killed, they can get more resources and they may even get the fifth realm opportunity. It is just that they're so aggressive. In fact, they stayed in the Divine Moon realm for too long, so that they almost developed a mental demon to this realm barrier. Now, seeing that Fang Yi was so easy to break through, they couldn't sit still. Who would have thought that they would not look down on a single one, thinking that they were from a remote country, and they really broke through and stood on their heads. How can they stand this? Left behind the door, step down. The man couldn't help but whisper, his eyes filled with dissatisfaction, and wanted to continue to incite the crowd. Just at this moment, rush dash. Only a loud noise was heard, and the sky burst into flames. As soon as it was almost over, the black shadow suddenly burst out, like a tearing apart the comet in the dome, and suddenly exploded between the world, causing the sky to rush. That is, at the next moment, the man was talking, and his body suddenly exploded, as if he was hitting a high-speed comet on his face. His right half of his body exploded and broke into a bloody fog. The bones, flesh, and muscles were all shattered and torn, and the right leg turned into light particles, sprinkling in the sky. Ah! At this moment, the man suddenly screamed, and the sadness reached its peak. But in the next second, he felt that his neck was locked, and his cry could no longer be heard. A strong and powerful palm suddenly grabbed his neck and smashed him to the ground. Rush! The next moment, the earth cracked and sank out of a deep pit. The man widened his eyes and felt as if he was shining. He cried and stopped, with only a pair of eyes widening and staring ahead. That's Fang Yi. Fang Yi's eyes were cold and filled with murder. Looking at these two eyes, the man suddenly felt a strong sense of suffocation. As for the words in his throat, he could not say anything at this moment. Even if he just takes a step forward and exerts a little more force on his fingers, he can pinch the man's neck on the spot. The man's words changed without thinking about asking for a gift when he reached his mouth. Yes, it's my mistake. I shouldn't talk nonsense. Let me go. The man shook his lips and pulled this sentence from his teeth. However, Fang Yi, who hand-pressed him on the ground, only said one sentence. As the territory envoy, it should be very reasonable to kill 2 attempts to provoke the rebellion of the Star Domain. He heard this sentence. The man's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly begged again. No, don't. Bang. However, his voice fell just now, and Fang Yi's fingers suddenly stopped his strength. A pure yang attribute Fang Yi's palm exploded, and then the man's body exploded and shattered on the scene. In the end, he was just blown up by his body. Although such injuries were enough to recreate, he was a 4th-level strongman. Although he recreated, he would not die. But now, under Fang Yi's reinforcing, the entire body of the 203 territory envoys' explosion fragments were filled with blood foam, and the photolithized body dissipated into the ashes. There is no possibility of treatment for death. At this moment, the scene was dead silent, the falling flag was heard, and the people around him were sweating wildly. Who could have thought that Fang Yi would make a breakthrough in this period? No one expected that Fang Yi would be so powerful as soon as he broke through, and he would directly penetrate the other party without leaving any left. He's crazy. Someone even roared in his heart. He killed the 203 territory and made the powerful slaughter under his command, and the 203 territory and made it impossible to be able to stop. At the same time, some people trembled. They knew that with Fang Yi's killing, a catastrophe would inevitably happen. It's over here. I'm afraid Fang Yi will really be separated from the 203 territory envoy. No one expected that the incident would develop to this point. No one expected that Fang Yi would be killed in such a way. Married. At this moment, there was a roar in a roar above the sky. The sound echoed, and the domineering atmosphere was shattered, shattering the surrounding clouds, and even sounded like a wave. When approaching the surface, it turned into a wild wind, causing everything around to slap. A weak pioneer could not bear this force and squatted down in pain while covering his ears. Oh! Finally, I was reluctant to come out. Fang Yi stood up, not unfamiliar with this sound. That's right, this person is the 203 territory envoy. You're looking for death. In an instant, the sky cracked, and the cloud retreated to both sides, revealing the figure of the 203 territory envoy. 203 the territory envoy is tall and mighty, standing in the clouds, looking down at Fang Yi below with one eye, and there is an unrestrained killing in his eyes, cold and biting. But it was killed and killed by a rebel. Fang Yi's words were cold, and he did not leave any sympathy at all. Why? The 203 territory also wants to rebel. After hearing the 2 words of rebellion, the 203 territory instantly collapsed. Fang Yi, the 203 territory made both eyes congested, leaving only strong hatred. No matter how he never expected that it would be a matter of a moment, all his elite subordinates would die. Although there is still a group of military forces belonging to him in the 203-star field, as I would like to describe, those military forces are soldiers, and the subordinates he brought by Tianji are important soldiers. The importance of cannot be discussed in general. But Fang Yi, in front of him, slaughtered all his subordinates and directly damaged his foundation as a territory envoy. Ordinary military power can be reshaped. At most, it can be re-enlisted and takes a certain amount of time to train, but this kind of subordinate with a left arm level is not that easy to retrain. To cultivate a 4th level of strength, you need to spend too much resources and time, and you even need to choose good seedlings. Otherwise, even if you're investing in resources, it is impossible to reach the 4th level. Therefore, the strength of each 4th realm is a rare resource. Even the quantity of the 4th realm is determined by determining the strength of a star field. And, under Fang Yi's killing, the 4th realm of the 203-star domain was strong and all died. I don't know how long it would take to cultivate it again. It can be said that he directly knocked out his team, and it was gone. How can the 203 territory not be angry? How to not be crazy? At this moment, Fang Yi was right in front of him. He was in a state of vein and had just created a shocking murder, but he was still not stained with a piece of blood. He is still strong and arduous, and his breath is still prosperous, which is the 5th realm of absolute deeds. Although the 203 territory envoy is very reluctant to admit it, I have to say, Fang Yi is definitely not the fifth realm that can help the long term. He, by now, really entered this stage. And so strong and terrible. You should know that it is impossible for Fang Yi to kill his subordinates in a short time. No, to be sure, this is even a murder. With just a few breaths, Fang Yi killed everyone. Come on, let me see if you were a territorial envoy, whether you were qualified or not. Fang Yi looked ahead, raised his hand, and hooked it slightly. Once, this is a saying by the 203 territory envoy to the other party. But now, Fang Yi returned this sentence unmovably. Language. 203 the territory made me furious in an instant. You are looking for death. At this moment, he could not believe that the light god civilization prohibited the territory from killing each other, and just wanted to crush Fang Yi's bones to ashes. Rise! A large amount of light on his body went wild, and the powerful fifth realm peak power was released from his back and pushed downwards. Fang Yi's eyes flashed. In front of him, a huge palm was gathering out and hit Fang Yi violently. This, Haluan, is the complete version of the Guangming sword. The entire sky was rendered golden by the bright light attributes, and the clouds, sky, etc. seemed to be bullied a layer of gold. And in the bright golden light, the big hand was under pressure. This hit. The shock of his surface made everyone around him uncontrollably shocked. Escape quickly. Someone was surprised and felt that it was difficult. This breath was too terrifying. It was almost like exploding people. It was far away from the distance, but it also made people feel a great pressure. Some weak first-hand actions were even more scared to kneel on the ground. Their legs were soft and unable to move. This was not because their pussy was too small, but because there was a sensation that was actually suppressing them, which was difficult to destroy the sensation. Even Fang Yi's subordinates had a serious and pale expression at this time. This blow, they were all impressed. With such anger, they could not even enter the center of the war, and they could not help Fang Yi. Seriously speaking, it was the first time that many people on the scene saw the strong man from the fifth realm peak taking full advantage. The first move is to destroy the sky and the earth. If the weak force enters the war zone between Fang Yi and the 203 territory envoy, the body will explode into pieces of flesh and blood. That is at this time. Between the heaven and earth, a terrible high temperature suddenly appeared, and immediately came the terrible high temperature. Rise! Fang Yi drew his sword and unsheathed it. Above the blade, pure fire attributes flow. Faced with the killing that made the 203 territory amazing, he didn't have too many fancy bells and whistles. There is an only one action. Raise your hand and use the knife. With just this knife, the golden dome was torn apart, and the empty big hand, the gray flying smoke. A fierce light scratch appeared in the palm of the big hand. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. At the moment of the third second, the golden big hand was cut open and split between the two sides along the center scratch. Bang! The next second, the sky and the earth were shaking. While the big hand exploded into debris, the 203 territory made the body feel as if it was struck by lightning, and then it suddenly retreated. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. It was also in line with the previous 3 seconds. At the moment of the third step, the 203 territory made the face white and the body was shattered. Puff! 203 the territory caused a large amount of blood to leak from the mouth. The next moment, his face changed drastically, and he could not see the blood from the corners of his mouth. You have reached the fifth realm peak? At this moment, the 203 territory envoy stared at Fang Yi, feeling unbelievable. It's almost the same. Fang Yi pointed his head slightly, not denying it. This picture shocked the whole scene. Who would have thought that Fang Yi had really come to this point? But he has only been a little while since the last breakthrough. Now he has not only broken through to the fifth level, but even reached the peak. Too many people talk, too many people are amazed, too many people think it is incredible. When Fang Yi was still in the fourth realm, He could also harm the other side, even though he was in a bad mood when he was still in the 4th realm. Now, Fang Yi has reached the 5th realm peak and reattached the 203 territory envoy. He only made a single blow and rekindled the other side. The difference is different. The difference is very different. Fang Yi killed the 203 territory envoy and received the star domain and quickly passed the news to the entire God of Light. The God of Light is shocked by this. The first thing to be angry was that the 203 territory was power behind the enemy. But no matter how angry the other party was, they could only be incompetent. Final date is determined. The power behind the 203 territory will also begin to decline as the 203 territory dies, and even the power will be greatly reduced. From a certain perspective, the 203 territory fights against the elders, like the ancient kings. Now the territory of 203 has killed, Wang Yan is sure. The team members, or forces who had previously been wrong, will naturally be liquidated. Compared with the 203 territory, the old man naturally laughed out loud. I was frustrated before. In order to wish Fang Yi's breakthrough, the elders directly held a banquet at the 303-star field and invited the entire God of Light to come and celebrate Fang Yi's anniversary. Others don't know where they are. On the surface, they are meant to make a breakthrough in the pursuit of Fang Yi, but in fact they are meant to make a breakthrough in the pursuit of Fang Yi and killed 203 territory envoys. And no one dared to mention such a big blow to the big blow. Originally, about Fang Yi's resignation of the Light God's resources, there are only 203 territory envoys and behind the force. No, to be sure, they're the only ones who dare to raise a protest. But now, the 203 territory was killed, and its back force was suppressed, so naturally no one else dared to say anything. Fang Yi, the Emperor Star, is famous. The bottom is the God of Light. That is, the banquet will be held this day. Fang Yi sat in chief, but the eldest brother sat on both sides, and Fang Yi showed a friendly smile. Brother Fang, are you satisfied with the size of this banquet? Chief Cho said with Fang Yi laughing. It's enough, I don't want these. Fang Yi also smiled and turned around. In fact, according to his own personality, he would not hold any banquets, but he just saw that the elders were very happy, so he did not refuse or recommend them. That's good, that's good, the old man said, and his face smiled even more. 103 territory is used. 403 territory is used. That is, there was a sound outside the banquet. One high-powered and heavy territory envoy after another actually came to Fang Yi's banquet one day, one after another. These territory make everyone have big names with heads and faces. On weekdays, the dragon sees the head, but not the end. It is very difficult to see the previous side. However, today they appear together and are in a decline. Congratulations to Fang Jianyuan for breaking through the 5th realm. Congratulations to Fang Jianyuan for breaking through the 5th realm. Congratulations to Fang Jianyuan for breaking through the 5th realm. After these border envoys arrived, they also looked at Fang Yi and said in unison. As the sound of the words fell, many areas swept their hands, and the eyes filled with lush eyes suddenly appeared. Many people who are rare in daily life are all rare in nature and earth treasures, and their value is hard to describe. You know, this is a gift from the territory and the bee, so there's no need to say much about the value. Please take your seat. Fang Yi also stood up, and as soon as the landlord gave a big hand, the banquet opened. He couldn't see it from anywhere. The surface of these territory was congratulations on him for breaking through the 5th realm, but in fact he was congratulating him. He was in a fight with his power. Fang Yi just glanced at it briefly and saw that these areas made gifts very different. If normal is just a breakthrough in the 5th realm, there is no need for them to give such a precious gift, and even they don't need to attend. After all, they're also in the 5th realm and are not very familiar with Fang Yi. This face is a must. Even if they don't come, no one will say anything. But now it is different. Not only did they come, they also gave gifts of incredible gifts. God of Light is guilty. At this moment, Words with clear judgment are heard in the sky, reverberating in the world, and reminiscing in everyone's ears. After hearing this, countless people were shocked. Looking up, I saw the dome cracking, and a pair of golden eyes looked at the sentient beings below indifferently. Kuchang's old face changed wildly at this moment. Originally, he was delighted to kill Fang Yi as the 203 territory envoy. When the young man saw these eyes at this moment, his eyes suddenly became very solemn, and his face was even more serious. As we entered, Fang Yi looked at the huge eyes on the dome and felt a powerful pressure. He also noticed another detail. Whether it is the elder or other territorial envoy, although they show a serious look, they don't have too many doubts. Sentence changing. For them, this situation has been estimated long ago, not a complete, accidental hair breakdown. Fang Yi now, something should be told to you. Old Chang was beside him, and his voice said in a casual manner, "The God of Light, if you want to take another step forward, the biggest problem is this eye in front of you?" Fang Yi's eyes flashed, and he caught the second half of the sentence. Not wrong. The master of this eye is the judge of the Ming dynasty, Qi Long. Almost at the moment when this sentence started, it suddenly burst into the sky, spreading out a strong pressure. In an instant, many weak spirits, some ordinary people who could not embark on the path of cultivation, exploded directly on the scene and died in the streets. Mix. The old man Krishna was furious at once, and his body dissipated a powerful and absolute power. That was the real power of the realm. However, before the elder could storm, the eyes in the sky gradually revealed the whole picture, and it was a human face. At this moment, Kalau felt that his body was trembling violently, and an unprecedented, terrifying force suddenly subsided. The power of the judge was clearly revealed, and the surprise exploded, stunning the sky and earth. This is a high-level pressure. A pair of eyes suddenly appeared above the dome, flashing out a terrifying light. That it was one strange and cold face after another. Although it is a human being, it is actually completely different. This is a higher and unique creature, looking down at the people below with coldness and ruthless eyes, as if human beings are observing the experimental mice. Rumble. At this moment, no matter how powerful the old man is, he still cannot truly fight against the master of this eye. The so-called Judge of Ming, whose name is Sensible, is the natural star of Ming. Only a moment of breath pressure is enough to cause the low strength to collapse. Under the pressure of the dimension surface, Kalau could not exert all his strength. What should I do? The expression changed drastically with territory. This is a downward attack from a higher dimension. After the scene where the God of Light was killed by the God of Heaven, how could the God of Heaven resist the attack from a higher dimension? High strength. Even if you just drop a finger lightly, it will be a fatal blow to low strength Ming. It was also at this moment that Fang Yi's expression changed slightly. He discovered a striking phenomenon. When the judges sued, all the people around the world were restricted, and it was difficult to exert real power. Only Fang Yi, he didn't even feel any pressure. He can perfectly move his own strength and has the highest peak state according to his old ability. Why is this? Fang Yi's heart was distorted. It was only in the next moment that he seemed to be blessed and sincere, and he realized something. That's right, it's the system. As the existence of the system, he was not affected by this. Is it hard to tell that the system itself is a higher dimension? Is he immune to the pressure of the judge? Well, it was also at this moment that a big hand landed in the sky. The ultimate light finger, which is not the finger made by the God of Light, is not a real big hand, but a huge hand, just like a huge giant who lowers his palm from a higher dimension and directly overturns and attacks the God of Light. You can't sit and wait. You must resist. Some territory envoys roared angrily, and his body rushed into the sky. However, just when he faced this big hand, his body was blown up and turned into countless flesh and blood scum. This scene made countless people feel cold in their hearts. What a powerful existence is this? Is a territory envoy killed in seconds? You should know that the lowest territory is the lowest level. It has become one of the most powerful existences of the God of Light. However, even in the first realm, he was killed in one encounter. Is it hard to tell that the God of Light is determined to be 6? Someone was flowing with heat, and his heart was filled with hope. This scene is too difficult to bear. Even the strongest group of people in the God of Light cannot fight against this so-called judging judge. So how to fight against the judging judge? Could it be that the judging judge was decided? The sadness spreads in the hearts of the people. It's not that they want to disappear, but that's true. This is equivalent to humans killing the worm. One finger can be crushed to death. How can the horn resist? Even if the zombie has the most powerful force in the body, how can it truly fight against humans? The two are not at the same level at all. Rise. At this moment, the big hand continued to press down. A disaster that shone through the entire God of Light finally came to an end. However, the God of Light, 100 years ago, had already discovered that the existence of the judges of the Ming dynasty. When they really arrived at this day, they still could not fight against the judges of the Ming dynasty. What a bullshit judge, but they are some selfish villains. At this moment, the old man suddenly stood up and actually broke through the higher dimensions of the limit through his anger and pointed at the sky with anger. Where's the sin you say is sin? But it is the progress of the God of Light, and the progress of the God of Light will soon touch your own interests. The words of the elder, Cho, were astonished as if they were terrified. At this moment, too many people were stunned and never thought that this was the so-called truth. No, it is more appropriate to ask them to be restricted. At the moment when the God of Light is perfect, all the pillars of the God of Light, including Kalau, received a message, no breakthrough. The word breakthrough does not refer to personal breakthrough, but the God of Light. You can only reach the perfect level, and you cannot take a step forward, and you will reach the ultimate super God of Light. This is the warning that every Mingming who breaks through to the perfect level will receive. As long as you are perfect and take a step forward, you will directly threaten these early Ming judges. This is the fundamental reason why the judges block the way out. Originally, in the estimate of the elders, the God of Light was still a long way from the supreme God of Light. At least, there is still 10 years. Nemesis, who would have thought that the judge of Ming actually appeared in advance? After discovering that the God of Light was at a certain level, he actually chose to take action directly to destroy the God of Light, was ahead of time. The old man's face was sad.